And we're here for our next character education fair where we have Josh and Kristan Lepik who are excited to share more about character education with you. I am Angie Rowe Wood, the president and CEO of Junior Achievement of Southern Colorado, and we're thrilled to be joined by two really incredible entrepreneurs in the Pueblo community this morning. Josh and Kristan Lepik, I would love for you to introduce yourselves to the students today. Tell them a little bit more about your background and how you started your business, and then about your time in Pueblo as well, and being a part of that community. And then I think we'll have some questions for you too. So let's get started with you just sharing a little bit of your story.
Absolutely. Hi guys. So I'm Kristan Lepik. I'm one of the very rare natives here in Colorado, and I spent majority of my childhood split between country living and city living. So I'm no stranger to hard work, whether it's mending fences or being able to enjoy some of the luxuries that the city offers, especially education and the arts. So I actually started my career originally pre-med. So I was going to be a cardiologist. Life happens, and I took instead of the road going directly how I planned it, life happens. And so I got a curveball and landed up starting with AT&T almost 14 years ago, actually this January. I have a background in programming, so I was one of those nerds as a kid that loved coding. So don't shy away from your coding classes. They are fantastic, and they're so much fun when you can build programs that actually function and work and make your life so much easier. So I started AT&T, had several different roles within the company, including a urgent case research analyst. So got to work under some of our upper leadership and helped assist with some escalated issues that funneled up to our leadership. Wonderful research, resolving issues and making life better for our customers. Then I've had various other roles, whether I diversified some of my skills going to retail and became a manager within retail, came back to customer care, and now a sales compensation manager. Realistically, the title just means that I am data analytics and a programmer within the company. So it's a lot of fun being able to make things, again, easier for, at least now my customers aren't the ideal customers, they are our front lines. So I make things just seamless, or as seamless as possible for our front lines.
Yeah, and so I'm Josh Lepik. I'm the other half of Kristan over here. I actually started with AT&T 14 years ago in August, so we're just a few months away from starting AT&T together. So 14 years with AT&T as well. I started off in the call center. I was a team manager in the Pueblo, Colorado call center. I did that for about 4 years before I moved over to operations with AT&T, and I became a chief of staff for one of our VPs at the time. I was her communications manager, and I quickly realized that is what I wanted to pursue in life. I wanted to do creativity, design, graphic design, communications. And so for the last several years, that is what I've been doing. I've been the communications manager for call centers and now for retail. So I build a lot of the flyers and things that our frontline agents will see. We build communications around products with Samsung, Apple, LG. It's really cool. So I've been doing that with AT&T for a while now, which I love. I grew up in Colorado, and then about 10 years ago, we started Lepik Photography, which is our site.
This March will be 10 years.
This March, there you go. This March, 10 years, we have Lepik Photography that we started. So for what Lepik Photography is, we specialize in weddings, senior photos, family portraits, business headshots, and business commercials. So when we're not with AT&T on our weekends, we are all around Colorado taking photographs and videos of other people throughout our community. We've got to work with Junior Achievement, you guys, a lot. We've worked with therapy offices, barbershops, delis, car detailing companies. We do the headshots for AT&T, real estate. I mean, you name it, our photography company kind of handles it all. So we've been doing that now 10 years in March.
Professionally.
Yep, professionally. And yeah, we just love being a part of the community. We've been doing Junior Achievement now for several years. You've actually been for Junior Achievement
probably almost 10.
Almost 10 years, yeah. So it's been really great. We've got to experience Junior Achievement live and in person at different events, through the AT&T call center, through the Rock and Bowl, through golf tournaments, and now getting to do it virtually, right? Because this is our new world now. Being at home, working from home.
That's right. And I know that something you believe in is continued learning, right? And finding new ways to challenge those skills. Could you tell us about in your roles? So you have AT&T, where I'm sure that continued learning is valued in the company. And we talk to students about being in school now, but we never stop learning, students. You'll never stop learning. You're continuing to learn. Literally, you've probably heard grown-ups say we learn something new every day, and that's entirely true. But are there certifications or other things that you needed to earn for this new business that you embarked on?
Absolutely. So not just in our actual careers, we've had to have certifications and degrees but our small business, you can call yourself a photographer, pick up a camera and run with it, but without learning the backgrounds, especially when you have switch out of automatic and go into that manual mode, you need to know different settings and what makes the camera function to the best of its abilities. We've done workshops, we've done seminars, we've done courses. We've recently very proudly earned our certification from Two-Man University. They're easily within the top 10 photographers of the world. And with COVID, they actually offered virtual classes. So with our main career, we didn't have the opportunity to fly to one of their workshops and go through basically almost like a college course where you're going through 14 weeks. It's not overnight, it's 14 weeks worth of seminars and workshops and courses. And you have to present your work and you get critiqued, and you have to learn how to take that constructive criticism and not take it personally, because they're giving it to you, providing you that feedback with the intent of making you better. Right. So we did our most recent certification was through Two-Man University, and then Pi, but that
SLR
one is
Lounge out of California. Yep. And the other thing too with running a small business is it's not just the business side, or I shouldn't say it's not just the fun side of it, right? So when we go take photographs of a family, let's just say, we're only with that family for 1 to 2 hours, right? But there's so much behind the scenes. There's marketing, there's social media awareness, there's social media marketing, there's taxes, there's website design, managing. I mean, you think about like, oh, I want to go do XYZ, whatever that might be, whether it's photography, a baking company, quilting. I mean, anything you want to do, that's the one small piece, right? The actual execution of it. There's so much more that you have to learn to be successful, because a lot of people that we see that burnout, right? They love the photography and they want to go shoot photos, but after a while they're like, wow, I'm not getting the clients that I want. I'm not making the money that I want. People aren't visiting my website the way I thought they would. And that's all full-time business behind the scenes that you've got to manage, right? How often do you post to social media? Again, making sure your taxes are right. The IRS, they always want to collect their money too.
In managing, so making sure that you have making sure your books and you track and you send your invoices. And then you also have to ensure that you're tracking it so that way you're set up for success and not surprise later for tax time.
Yep.
Right.
You have a certain amount set aside.
Yeah. So it's education continues to grow. There's things that we learn weekly that we did not know, right? And that's formally and informally. So things that we pick up from people we interact with and meet, all the way through the education series that we take on personally, as well as what AT&T provides. You know, AT&T, if you want to get new roles, you've got to show the competency in those roles. So AT&T offers a lot of learning through our own university, which is called T University, AT&T University, through LinkedIn Learning, as well as paying for actual college courses and everything. So they expect that as you grow in your career with AT&T, your skills and your education are going to grow as well. And it's probably not to say with, you know, I'm sure other companies do it too. When you hit certain levels within AT&T, your education has to match those levels. Otherwise you don't get those promotions, right? So you've got to ensure that you are consistently learning and growing, both internally and out of the company.
And you can even get micro degrees.
Yes, and AT&T does micro degrees as well. So if there's a niche that you want, such as computer programming, data analytics, project management, you can do, you know, 10 to 30 week type courses that you get your nano degrees in as well. So
yeah.
So it sounds like you all are juggling a lot, and we have lots of questions that are coming in. So this is exciting, and we're thrilled to see the students engaging too. When you talk about priorities and setting priorities, how would you help students understand? So right now you have your daughter, your work-life balance is important to you, so your family is important. You have a business that you're starting, and you have a career that you're in with AT&T. This is a lot to manage. How do you help students understand if they have after school programs like sports, if they have homework, if they have their family chores and responsibilities, plus just wanting to be a part of their family and have some fun with that balance? How do you set priorities? How do you choose those priorities? And how would you share that with students to help them understand how to put first things first?
Yep.
Absolutely. So make a list, keep organized. We live out of our planner, whether it's our calendar or actual planner. Old fashioned, I actually have a planner, and I keep it virtual just simply for the fact that less trees, less waste, better for the world and our environments, but stay organized. So make a list, ensure that you're prioritizing. So you have to decide what's important for you. And it's not you have to weigh the options, want versus need. The needs have to come as a priority over the wants. So
yeah, one thing I would add on to that is we live by a set of, I guess, core values that we have kind of unofficially established in our family, right? Where family comes first above everything else. So if there's an event that our daughter Alyssa is a part of, if she's, you know, it's a soccer game, if it's a play she's in or anything, we don't miss that. Or if we do, it's one of us is going to miss it and the other will be there. And that's a rarity, right? That's not that's not the rule. So first of all, family comes first, and we take time for ourselves, right? We have date nights, and we have times like right now, we are not taking on any more clients for the rest of the year for photography because we want to have that family time throughout the season. So first and foremost, you've got to have some priorities. You've got to have an internal core value structure. And at the end of the day, family comes first, right? Like if on my personal AT&T account, it has our little bio, and it says first, father and husband, second, AT&T communications manager. And that's to let people know, like, at the end of the day, you know, this is what I value the most, and they have to accept that and understand. And luckily AT&T is a company that values family, and they've been very good about, if we need to take off a little bit during the day, we're good about making up that time later. So make sure you have those core values established, because it's easy to chase the money and it's easy to work all the time. But that's not really what life is fully about. We want to have that retirement someday and things, but we're not going to sacrifice that now.
Yeah, beautiful. I appreciate you sharing that perspective with students because it can be hard even to balance everything that a student has in elementary school. We have a lot of responsibilities. Okay, couple of questions. Chloe from Fountain would like to know how hard it is for you to take pictures of babies. Is it extremely difficult when a family has a little baby?
Depends on how old the baby is.
Yeah, we
If they can't
absolutely-
move yet, right? It needs to be before they can walk, or tell us more.
yeah,
Actually,
and you would
it's a small window. So once they could talk and walk, it's so much
Yeah.
easier.
we actually kind of made a rule this year that if they were less than like 6 to 8 months, we were going to no longer take photos. We used to do babies quite often, but it's very challenging because they determine schedule, right? Like when you have a newborn, your time is not your time. It's the baby's time. So if we go show up for a session at 3 o'clock with a regular family that doesn't have a baby, everyone's there at 3 o'clock and they know from 3 to 4, we're doing photos. With a baby, if we show up at 3 o'clock and the baby says, I'm going to feed right now, or I am going to sleep right now, well, guess what? That's
Sleeping is great.
sleeping is great. Yeah. But they might want to cry, right, for another hour. And
So you
It's-
don't have a set timeline with babies.
yeah, babies, it's very difficult. So we've kind of made a rule for ourselves that between 6 and 8 months or younger, we're kind of moving away from right now. We find when they hit that like 6 to 8 month mark, their expressions really start to shine through, their personalities come through. And then we love taking those photos. When they start walking at that toddler phase, that's the best, right? It's like, just let them play, let them have fun, let them run around, and we'll capture that, right? You're probably not going to get the perfect mantelpiece shot, but many of the times
no, not posed.
Not posed
But the
mantelpiece.
candid
Yeah, the
mantelpieces
candid, yeah.
are just, they mean more, especially to parents, because it's their child. It's not the posed perfect.
Right.
And so you capture those moments, and some of those candid moments are just perfect. All the stars align. You have to be patient. You still have to be on their schedule, but yeah. It's patience pursues. So if you can be patient and wait through it, it does pay off.
Yep.
Patience pursues. I love that. And I think that's really important. And your candid shots, I have to say, are some of my favorite. That's some of my favorite work that you've done. I think they're all so impressive. All right, a question from Ben, who is in Sunset Park. So he wants to know do you have to be bossy? So when you're trying to get people, okay, let's say they're older than 8 months, even adults, right? There's always that difficult member of the family, someone who won't cooperate. It could be the father a lot of times. It could be one of the kids. I'm just kidding, not picking on fathers. The father in my family is great in the pictures. He's you can't get a bad shot. He does a great job. But if do you have to be kind of firm or hard with folks? Do you have to be a little bossy to say, no, stand here? Or is it that you just let them be, like you said?
So I wouldn't say bossy. I would say clear communication. Because if you're very transparent and you set expectations, and not just for photography, for life, if you set clear expectations, then there's not a lot that gets missed in translation. So we spend the first 10 to 15 minutes with our clients actually going through posing guides and setting those clear expectations. And for people who, we have long-term clients that have been with us for 7+ years, then we run through, it only takes 5 minutes to do a refresher. But we dedicate those first few minutes to set clear expectations, so that way everyone's on the same page, and then we ask for their feedback as well. So it's a two-way conversation.
Now with that though, there are exceptions, of course. And we actually just did a wedding this last weekend. And on the way home, Kristan said, you really kind of yelled at everybody at one point. And we were doing a bubble send-off, right? And a bubble send-off is where everybody that comes to the wedding, they get in a single file. Well, they get in 2 lines, right? And then the couple runs up the aisle and they're all blowing bubbles, right?
Yeah.
And by this point in the evening,
people had been enjoying the festivities.
Yes. And so they weren't listening as well. And I needed them all to get in the line, blow bubbles at a certain time, let the couples run up the aisle, and then they were all going to cheer and everything. And So at one point it was, managing 150 people to try to get them to do what we needed them to do because it was cold Saturday.
It was in the 36 degrees.
Yeah, 36 degrees. So we don't want the couple to be outside very long. They don't want to be outside very long. We don't want to be outside very long. So at one point I kind of had to get loud and
more assertive.
More assertive to get them to do what we needed. But then we were done in 3 minutes, right? So, but yeah, I would say expectations. You nailed it. Just setting expectations, and this goes with everything in life. So many things that go wrong are because of a lack of communication, and that's in relationships with our spouses, our boyfriends, girlfriends, our children, our bosses, everything. It's just expectations, setting that up front, being clear.
Expectations and communication, that's so important. And for crowd control like that, Josh, you might could take a cue from the teachers. You know how they all have something that they do in the classroom where no matter what they do,
Yep.
like the whole class stops and everyone pays attention. So we need to think of something like that and it's life outside the classroom.
Now I'm going to use that. I completely forgot about like the clap, right? And then that's universal. Everybody's going to know that.
Maybe some educators on here can give us some good crowd control tips on on that. Okay, question about your roles at AT&T. Marcus, who is at Harrison, wants to know, do you get angry callers, and how do you handle someone who might call and be upset or frustrated?
Not for years.
So luckily, both of us have been out of the call center side of the world for quite a few years. We're back in corporate now. But when I started my journey with AT&T, I was on the phone. And I was at that front line where they would call in and their bills. And this was back in the day. We're going to date ourselves. So most kids nowadays, everything's unlimited for you, meaning you can talk as much as you want on your phone and you can get on the internet as much as you want on your phone. That wasn't always the case. So depending on how old you are, you used to have to pay for minutes, and there was packages, right? So you might have 200 minutes a month and 30 minutes of internet, right?
No, not even that. It was just text messages.
Well, yeah, text. And so back then we would get people that exceeded those minutes, right? So after your 200 minutes, you're charged 50 cents a minute or whatever it was, right? Well, if you have a child who wants to talk for 7 hours to their friends, you do the math.
Didn't use the landline.
You're right. Didn't use the landline. What's 8 hours of on the phone on a weekend at 50 cents a minute, right? It's so yes, very angry customers. And then being in management, you were that second line, right? So when the person answering the phone call couldn't handle the issue, they would escalate and come to a manager. And then they're even more mad when they talk to the manager. And the key thing with that is you can't see the person you're talking to. Like nowadays, we have Zoom, right? We can see each other. But when you're over the phone like that, there's no way to see what somebody looks like. They don't, and it makes it worse in a way because they can't relate to you. Where if I was really mad right now and yelling at you, I could see how you would react to that. I could see your expressions and your emotions. When you're dealing with somebody over the phone,
it's all tone.
It's all tone and demeanor. And it's how do you change your approach and calm them down and talk softer and get them to, slowly and let them know that you're there for them. We understand as employees of the company, you didn't choose to go over or know the consequences of going over the minutes or whatever it might have been. We weren't the ones that caused the issue either. We're answering the phone to help you and really trying to set those expectations.
Although I will say that de-escalation skills have helped when our daughter, she's 13 now, but when she was a toddler, because toddler tantrums are very similar to people losing their minds on the phone. And so de-escalation skills and clear communication, has helped us throughout both personal and career.
And that's the theme, right? Again, communication, expectations, right? Like I can't say that enough. Like with everything, it's communication and expectations, right? If the customer knew they were going to be charged 50 cents a minute, then they would be less mad, right? It's when they get that bill that's $8,000 that they're like, why did that happen?
And it gave us really good insight and opportunity to identify issues as a company. So that's where we've made improvements as a company to make clear communication with our customers.
Mhm.
So now if you were traveling overseas, because that pretty much is the only place that you would have the potential unexpected. So if you're traveling overseas, now that communication is almost immediate if we see that someone's pinged on an international tower. So, and we send those notifications to our customers to be very transparent and open those lines of communication.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's fantastic. And talking about customer service. And so I hope students, if you have younger siblings at home, we can read through some of the things ways that you can de-escalate an angry person or a frustrated person. And that might help with a younger sibling if you have any toddlers or younger siblings at home too.
Tone
Yeah.
again, if they're yelling and you yell, it's just going to escalate, right? So like if your younger brother or sister is annoying you, like just calm, talk softer, lower your tone, because after a while they're going to realize I can't hear what you're saying. So they're going to have to like stop yelling at you to hear what you're saying. But if you yell and then they want to be heard and then they want to, it just keeps escalating. So
that's genius. And talking about customer service. So in your own business, Nevaeh from Pueblo, she wants to know, if someone is unhappy with the pictures that they got when you spent an hour to 2 hours with them, how do you handle the customer service of that? What would you do for a client who wasn't happy with the pictures they got? Does that ever happen?
Yeah. The theme of today's call is expectations and communications, right? So one, from the moment the client, the person looking for the photos reaches out to us, we start that process of educating them, right? So the photos they see on our website are consistent with the photos they see on our Facebook page, on our Instagram.
And what they receive.
So from the moment they reach out to us, hopefully they've looked at all of our photos and they've seen our work, and that work resonates with them. So they understand what they're potentially going to get for themselves. Then it starts with education, right? When they reach out to us and they want a 12 o'clock noon photo session, we explain to them that the photos that they're going to get at 12 o'clock noon are very different than the photos they're going to get early in the morning or late in the evening, because the lighting is so different. Right. So it really is about setting those expectations up front with them. And I feel that really eliminates that back end where they didn't enjoy the photos, because if they don't like our work and the way it looks, well, then they should go to a photographer whose work they like, right?
Because we all have different styles,
right? And
we spend hours culling and editing in Photoshop to ensure it has our signature look and feel.
Yep. Yeah, we have a look that all of our photos look and feel, and that's based on the gear, our editing style. So setting those expectations up front. Now, let's just say all of that aligned, right? And it was the perfect time of day, and all the expectations were set, and the client came back and just said, look, we hate the photos. We've never had that happen. And hopefully we never do. But I would think that we would take that as okay, what do you want from these photos? Can we make that happen? And then go from there, right? So luckily, based on expectations and communication, we've not had that happen. People come to us for the look and the experience we provide them, so they kind of know up front. And that also goes to show, or to say, when you're choosing a photographer, right, you want to go with people that have been established, right? Because I'm sure if we all go out to photographers' websites, we might see somewhere one photo looks amazing. It's like the perfect golden hour sunset. And then the next photo they publish is not so good, right? And it's knowing that kind of technicalities and things that go into taking photographs. So the customer does know, right? When you go to our website, all of our photos look and feel consistent with each other. It's not like you're getting a different look and feel, which we often see in the photography community with new photographers starting out. They haven't established that look and feel for themselves yet. So
or have enough experience.
Right, enough experience. So the client might not know what they're getting, right? They see one photo on your website that's beautiful golden hour sunlight, but then you shoot them at noon And they're like, well, where's that golden hour, beautiful sunlight? And you're like, oh, I didn't know that's what they wanted, or whatever it might be. So,
well, and so we're very transparent in our personal lives and in our business and careers. So if someone reaches out and through the conversation, we show them, we'll send them a full album. That way they know that it's a consistent look and feel, but then they can also compare between maybe a 12 o'clock versus a sunset. And then that way they can make their own decision. And we're empowering our clients to make the best decision for them, not only for their schedule, but for the look and feel that they want.
yep.
That's fantastic. So I have heard some really key topics from you all. First, I heard you say family first. When we talk about setting priorities, put your families first. I think that's so important for all of us to take away. Needs before wants. Kristan, I love that you said that. Just really make sure we're putting our needs before our wants.
And then stole that from I stole that and I learned it from one of the days that are one of the years I was volunteering and teaching junior achievement to kindergartners.
That's right.
So
that's right.
It was a lesson. And so I stole that line and I've been using it since.
It works for budgeting and it works in our lives as well. And then Josh, clear communication, clear expectations, really ensuring that we are setting clear expectations with those people around us and communicating with them and really sharing what we need to say and understanding, hey, this is what you can expect from me today. Those are important. And then I love, Kristan, patience pursues. I thought that was really great, just being very patient in your life as well. We are at the end of our time, but I'd love to know if there is one character trait you could share with our students in closing, and they can be in line with this to reiterate, or anything else that you might want to add. One note with students, and one from each of you might be great too.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I know this isn't in the 7 habits, but be a good person. I mean, realistically, people they don't just see your face, they see inside of you. And so if you're genuinely a good person and you care about others, it is going to portray in your actions and in just your personality. And thankfully, I had amazing, loving parents that instilled those values, choose right, because even if it's the harder path, choose right. Because at the end of the day, looking back, I've been able to be proud of those decisions and proud of who I am, and then proud of our daughter who we're instilling those values as well.
Yeah, and mine would be very similar to that. We all have a personal brand, and your personal brand, if you think about any brand, right? If I say the word Nike shoes, everybody has a thought of what Nike shoes means, right? Mm-hmm. Coca-Cola, Pepsi, AT&T, right? Everything has a personal brand, including us. We have a personal brand. And when somebody says your name, whether that's your parents, whether that's a teacher, whether that's a future boss, when they say your name, what comes to mind? And you want that personal brand to be good. You want to be a good person. You want good character, integrity, hardworking, all of that, right? Because that's going to carry you through life. I hate that it's like that, right? But it is. So your brand on social media, your brand at work, your brand to your parents, your brand to your friends, you want that to be authentic and genuine, because that will be with you for the rest of your life. So always keep that in your mind. When somebody thinks about me, what do they think? And if you don't know, ask some friends, ask your boss. If you were to say my name, or somebody was to say my name, would you be an advocate for me?
I think that is such a brilliant way to close, just really making sure you're choosing right, and that you are ensuring that your personal brand, and when someone says your name, that it is reflecting who you want to be as a person and the character that you want to bring. So just really brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us. And students, thanks for joining us for this virtual career education fair. This will remain on our YouTube if you missed any. This will still live on our Junior Achievement of Southern Colorado YouTube page. Josh and Kristan Lepik of Lepik Photography, thank you so much for being with us today and sharing your thoughts on character education with students. And students and teachers, thanks for joining us. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.